field for Vogelbach, who struck out looking in the second. And he hits one in the air, deep left center. Carlson watching. Vogelbach has gone back-to-back with Braun. 2-0 Brewers. Vogelbach with his fourth in a Brewers uniform. There was no doubt about that. Dylan Carlson started to drift back and then just started to pull up. Second time through for the Crew, and they go back-to-back. Another sinker, middle away, and Vogelbach just split the baseball in half.
Here's Daniel Vogelbach getting the start at DH today and hitting in the 5 spot. In the air to right center field. And there it is. His first home run as a Toronto Blue Jay, and that makes it 1-0.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Verot Show. And our next guest really doesn't need much of an introduction. If you've been on the Bishop Verot campus, you know him. If you watch Major League Baseball, you have seen him. So welcome to the Verot Show, Daniel Vogelbach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being on the show. And this is my first one as well. So I am the director of advancement here at Bishop Verot High School, and I'm in my second year, and this is really a special place. And I can see why a lot of people are attracted to it even after graduation. Talk to us a little bit about what Bishop Verot meant to you while you were here, and also the Catholic faith as you moved on through your career. And I might have wanted to say, too, I got to step back just a second. You're a 2011 grad from Bishop Verot.
Yes. So Verot started in my family when my brother came here. I'm super close and with my family, just the way my parents raised us, and I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. So I've been coming to Verot, watching him play football since I was little, going to every game, and it was just started to become a family when I was younger. And as I got older and get close to high school, I mean, it was always Verot. It was always going to be Verot. There was never really another option. And I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I came in, still to this day, some of my best friends I went to high school with and played baseball with, most of them were in my wedding, stood next to me when I was married, and got to win a state championship my senior year. And I still, people probably think I'm crazy by saying this, but still to this day, out of all the things that I've been fortunate enough to accomplish, winning a state championship with some of your best friends still to this day is something that I would go back and do over and over again and take it at the top of my list any day of the week.
Well, you're jumping ahead, but I was going to ask you a question and where your Major League Baseball career and being drafted ranks, but obviously you put being here and with your Bishop Verot community and your family as really being something that's most memorable to you. Is there anything else that stands out when you were a Viking?
Yeah, I think that's something that everybody talks about, but until you're here, it's really hard to describe. It truly is a family. People here genuinely want the best for you, and everybody knows that everybody's route to where they want to go in life is different. It starts different, it ends different, but everybody here has the heart to get you to your end goal. And even though it may be different, everybody here realizes that everybody takes different routes. Everybody may need a little more work in the classroom, something that I needed. People may not need as much work, but everybody here is willing to do whatever it takes to see you succeed. And I think that's the lost cause in the world. And I think that it's easy to give up on people, and it's easy to just say, oh, this guy can't do it, this guy can't make it, whatever it may be. And Bishop Verot truly is a place that they will go above and beyond whatever they have to do to get you to what you want to do.
And that's some high praise. And obviously, you've been around some larger circles, and for you to really look back on your time here at Bishop Verot and really hold it in that regard is pretty amazing. I think that's really cool as an alum.
Yeah, I wouldn't come back and do as much as I do and want to be around here as much as I want to be around here. I mean, you don't see in high school. I mean, even I had the blessing of not going to college, but even in college, like, you don't see many people as much as Verot that come back. And it's just not from students. I mean, the faculty, like, I come back here and, I mean, I call him Coach Coleman, but everybody knows him as Greg. Like
Everybody knows Greg Coleman.
He would sit and I would be in the stands with him when my brother's playing high school football because his dad was coaching my brother. And now he's the AD here. Susie was teaching here. So it's like you don't see many people that just want to be here, you know, because I think it's a credit to Verot that once you come across here, you want to come back. You know that there isn't any place like it after you've been here.
And again, awesome that you think that way. And I want to stick with your time here playing baseball. You had a very successful career here growing up in high school. And even, I think as a sophomore, you started to really get heavily recruited by some big names, Florida State, University of Florida, which you were basically heading to UF, I believe, before your major league career took flight. But, when did you really realize playing high school baseball that Major League Baseball was a real opportunity for you, and getting drafted was really, kind of in your front windshield?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to credit my dad and my parents on this one. And I know people. I never really thought about it till later, way later in my high school career. I really wasn't able to. I was just a kid that wanted to play baseball and have fun and be with his friends. And Coach Asaro back in the day was my coach, and Coach Asaro was very good about humbling you. He wasn't scared to humble you. But I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I just enjoyed going to the baseball field at 3:30 every day and playing high school baseball with my friends. I never played year-round baseball. My dad didn't believe in it, and still to this day, I'm very thankful for that. He wanted me to be a kid. He wanted me to enjoy life, and he wanted me to look forward to going to the field every day. My dad never asked me to go to the field, but he never said no when I asked to go to the field. So to answer your question fully, the colleges started in sophomore year. And for me at the time, that was just all I wanted to do was be a Gator. I've been a Gator fan my whole life. My whole family's a Gator fan, and that's where I wanted to go, and that's what I had my sights set on. And I was lucky enough my sophomore year to play with Bobby Borchering, who was a first-round draft pick, and coming through the draft process with scouts coming in and out, I was lucky enough to be in front of those guys and put my name on the map a little bit. And I just was lucky enough to play with a good group of guys that come senior year, I was able to be put in an environment that it was up to me to determine my future.
That was really awesome. I know that you mentioned you wanted to be a Florida Gator, and that was really, I think you had committed to UF prior to getting drafted. Was that hard to turn down UF at the time? I mean, obviously you're looking at being a Major League Baseball player, being drafted, which is really every kid who plays the game. That's their dream. That's the end game. But was it hard not to, you're a UF fan, to now all of a sudden say, I'm going to just go in a different direction? Yeah,
absolutely. It was definitely hard. But like I said earlier, I have a family. My mom and dad, we sat down with my agent at the time, and I wasn't just going to sign to sign. And my parents made it, really laid out the groundwork of like, this isn't, you're not going to the big leagues. You got to, just because you're getting drafted, you got a long way to go. So it had to be something that financially made sense for me. And if it was the best path that for me that was to take in my life, it was a lot of prayer and a lot of thought and talks with my family. And as hard as it is, I still joke to this day that part of me wishes that, I did go to school, especially with how NIL is now. I wish it was back then. But no, it was definitely a hard decision. Still to this day, every Saturday, the Gator football's on and I'm watching it and I enjoy it. But I'm thankful, and I wouldn't have done my path any other way.
Yeah. So you were drafted in 2011 by the Cubs, and you were, I believe, the second round. Is that correct?
Yes.
Which is really a high draft pick when you're talking about coming out of high school. I know some of these kids are getting drafted, number one, or there's a lot of kids out there that do that or get have that opportunity. But being in the second round is very, very good. And you were picked by the Chicago Cubs. Now, who did you root for as you were playing baseball? Did you have a favorite team?
Yeah, growing up, it was always the Braves because they were on TBS, and you get home from school and doing your after school activities, and you come home and you turn on TBS, and it was always Chipper Jones and those guys playing. So I grew up, watching Chipper and the Braves, but to be honest, I just liked watching baseball. Whatever was on, I just wanted to watch it. I enjoyed it. So I didn't really have like a crazy team that I liked. But growing up, it was always the Braves. It was on TV. And then if you had an off day of school, it was the Cubs, because their games were always during the day.
WGN, right?
Yes.
And I was similar. I'm a Braves fan, obviously. And we got cable in 1982. And I became a Braves fan because they were on all the time. So I absolutely started following that team. But back to the Cubs. So all of a sudden, you're 18 years old. You're drafted by the Chicago Cubs. How are you feeling about that? About potentially going to that city to play baseball? What was your feeling being drafted?
Yeah, I think that it's a little misunderstood what people think. You get drafted by the Chicago Cubs, but you're not going to Chicago. You got a long way to go before you get to Chicago. So for me, it was first time I've ever left home. I was definitely a mama's boy, and all I've ever known is being home with my family. And you go from never leaving to Arizona is where their spring training is. So you fly across the country to Arizona, and there you are just on your own. So I didn't really have a choice but to grow up pretty fast. There was no more mom waking you up, making sure you're on time for practice, getting you somewhere. I mean, it was the real world hits you in the face real fast. But you just had, for me, it was keeping the big picture, the main picture. And the big picture was to play on TV and play in the big leagues. So you just put your head down and, you go to work, and we'll figure out the end in the end.
Well, very interesting point that you make. And I think that some of these young players that get drafted maybe don't really get it at first, that whoever you're drafted by, you're really not going to the major leagues right out of high school or even out of college sometimes. You have to play in the minors, and you were in the minors for 5 years before you made your major league debut in 2016, I believe.
2016.
In my opinion, it maybe is a longer story than what we have time for, but spending 5 years in the minors, really always believing you're going to make it. What really pulled you through to keep you and get you where you were with a really long major league career?
Yeah, I mean, it may sound just as blunder, but I just always believed I was going to play in the big leagues. I didn't have a backup plan. And there wasn't really a backup plan for me. I just had it in my head that I was going to play in the big leagues, and it wasn't if, it was just when for me. And that was my mindset every day I went to the field. And there's obviously a difference, and it's not something you voice or you talk about or you're cocky out, to your teammates, but that's just what you have to have, mentally, that you're not going to be denied, because it's a crazy world out there. And they always say baseball is the easiest sport to make it, to get drafted, but it's the hardest sport to make it. And I firmly believe that, because it's a long road, and there's a lot of sleepless nights. There's a lot of offers that you got to get up in the next day and play. But for me, it was just there wasn't a backup plan. I was going to play in the big leagues, and that's what I was going to do.
Well, you finally made it, September 12th to be exact, 2016. Do you remember who you played against that day?
I do. I got called up from Tacoma, and I flew to LA to play the Angels.
Excellent. That's right. And I think you hit out 0 for 1 with a grounder, but then you went on to hit a lot of dingers in your career, which is awesome. We'll talk about that in a minute. I got to ask you quickly, though, can you walk us through quickly what that day was like, getting prepared to make your debut? Obviously, I think there's a lot of interest and intrigue with professional athletes and what kind of lifestyle they live. What was your day like when you knew you were coming up and you're going to play in the majors for the first time?
Yeah, I was very blessed, and I tell everybody this. I was very blessed in Seattle to have really, really good veterans that really took care of me, and some that I'm still super close with to this day that really made me feel at home. And I think that's something that is huge that people don't realize. And as I went on my career, I tried to do the same, but it's a big jump. You're at the highest level in the world. There's no other level that's higher. And you go from, playing in the minor leagues to every night you're on TV and you're under a microscope. So for me, I had great veterans that really, really, really made things a lot easier. But it really didn't hit me for probably a week after being in the big leagues. You know, you're running on emotion for a little bit, and then you kind of realize, like, man, I'm waking up every day. I'm going to the big leagues. So it was very cool. It was cool to have a family that also was living it out with me, which was really cool. And I'm very thankful for the journey that, you know, got me there, that made things, you know, a little easier than normal.
Well, in 2019, you made it. You became an all-star with the Seattle Mariners, and not only an all-star, but you also were in the home run derby that year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I didn't do the home run derby.
Okay.
I did the home run derby the year before in the AAA.
Okay. My apologies on that. But let's talk about the All-Star game. You know, having this dream as a kid, and even in the minors, that you just said, hey, you always had this belief in yourself that you were going to make it. And you finally did, not only that year, but in 2016, the All-Star game. That's kind of, other than winning a championship or the World Series, that's kind of the pinnacle, correct? Or
yeah, for sure. That was a moment where, like, you know, you go from watching the guys when you were younger to play and to sharing a clubhouse with them. That was the year I was blessed that it was CC Sabathia's last year, so they did a farewell with him. And it was just really cool to be around guys that, I mean, have done it at the highest level for a long, long time and been super successful. So I took that more of as a, you know, learning lesson. I picked the brains of guys that were the best of the best. And that moment was definitely, I think, more enjoyable for my family than anything. Getting to tell my family that I was an all-star and they were flying out to Cleveland to enjoy the week of the all-star game. It was really cool. And it's something that, you know, guys have said, and now, you know, like, nobody will be able to take that away from you. So it's something that, you know, very cool in my career that I can say that I was an all-star.
Absolutely. I think it's just a great honor. And you're right, no one can take that away from you. Now, your career is over right now, and you've had a really good major league career, and you're getting into the coaching phase of things. You've just been hired by the Brewers, I believe, to be their hitting coach. Mm-hmm. You had worked on the Pirates staff last year, I think, in the same role, if I'm not mistaken. Is this to say you're officially retired?
Yeah, I have a saying that, you know, not everybody gets to retire. So I will never say that I retired. Derek Jeter gets to retire. So I just I was done. I was perfectly happy with being done. I was at a point in my career where, you know, I didn't have I always told myself when I wasn't 100% in anymore, I was going to be done. I wasn't just going to do it to do it. And so I took a year off and got to hang out with my family and my son, and I enjoy baseball a lot. So I decided to get into the coaching side last year with Pittsburgh. I just did kind of like a part-time thing so I could be home more. And then this year, you know, the Brewers called and asked if I wanted to do an assistant hitting coach job. And I'm very familiar with Milwaukee from playing there. And at the time, Murph was the bench coach and really enjoyed Murph. And they're really good. So I like to win. So it was hard for me to turn down. So I'm going to do, you know, put my feet in, and we're going to see where it goes.
That's excellent. Now, was coaching an aspiration of yours? Obviously, you wanted to play baseball, but did you always think, hey, I want to be a coach after this career's over?
At the end of my career, it started to, you know, creep in. You know, I like to lead, and I think that, you know, I'd like to manage going forward. But you got to, just like playing, you got to start from the bottom, and you got to work your way up. You know, anything you did as a player isn't really credible as a coach. There's a lot of really, really good coaches out there that didn't play, that have worked their way up, and they're some of the best ever. So you got to get you got to get your credibility doing that, and you got to learn. And so I'm excited to learn and just kind of see where it goes.
Well, I'm sure you're going to do a great job, and I know you leave next week.
Yes.
So we're really happy that you were able to come on the Verot Show. As we start to wrap up, I got to ask you, what will you tell young kids right now who aspire to be you?
Yeah, I think in a world where social media and everybody's has an opinion, and everybody thinks they know it all, and someone's always going to tell you you can't, and someone's going to tell you that, you know, your dream's too big. something that my brother, when I was younger, always used to tell me, and it's so little, but I just live by, just follow your dreams, and no dream's too big. And you determine if you achieve those dreams. And don't let anybody tell you can't do something. There's a lot of people out there that tell you can't do something because they couldn't do what you could do. So through it all, just, keep your faith and continue to keep your priorities in check and keep the big picture in your head and chase your dream. And if you put your head down, there's no timetable on it. Eventually, you can achieve anything you put your mind to. It's
amazing. And, thank you for doing what you do here at Bishop Verot High School. You don't have to do that. I know you're part of the baseball team. You're, like I said at the beginning, you're always somewhere in an athletic facility, or you're always at a basketball game. And, kids have to be seeing that and realize your loyalty, not only to your school, but to your hometown, to your parents, and to your family. So thank you for being that guy. And we really appreciate everything that you've been able to do here.
Well, I appreciate it. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And that's not a credit to me. That's a credit to Verot and what Verot gives to people.
Well, thanks for watching today. Listen, if you're a fan of what we do, we love bringing this information to you. Hey, give us a like or subscribe. And if you're not part of the Viking community, you can. It's never too late to be a Viking. And we hope you guys have a great day, a great week, and go Vikings.